ExamPrep.School. Missouri Public Adjuster Solicitor Insurance Exam, Exam Code 21. There are 6 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Certificate of Authority, Fiduciary Responsibilities, Commissions Compensation, Guarantee Association, Director of Commerce and Insurance, Insurance Terms and Related Concepts, Licensing Requirements, Marketing Practices, Policy Provisions and Contract Law, Property and Casualty Statutes, Public Adjuster, Loss Report and Documentation, Public Adjuster, Loss, Damage Valuation and Damages, Types of Policies. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under a DP3 dwelling policy on a landlord-occupied 2-unit dwelling, in order to ensure the landlord's household furnishings in the unit the landlord occupies, which coverage part must be purchased? A. Coverage A, dwelling. B. Coverage B, other structures. C. Coverage C, personal property. D. Coverage D, fair rental value. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is Coverage C, which provides protection for the landlord's personal property located in the dwelling under the dwelling policy form. Reason A is not correct. Dwelling coverage applies only to the structure itself, not to household furnishings. Reason B is not correct. Other structures coverage applies to detached structures, not to furnishings inside the dwelling. Reason D is not correct. Fair rental value coverage reimburses lost rental income, not the landlord's personal property. Question 2. Under a dwelling policy covering a tenant-occupied dwelling, coverage D, fair rental value, is limited to what percentage of the coverage A limit? A. 10%, B. 30%, C. 25%, D. 20%. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is 20%, since coverage D under a dwelling policy provides fair rental value up to 20% of the coverage A amount. Reason A is not correct. 10% understates the specified limit for fair rental value under a dwelling policy. Reason B is not correct. 30% exceeds the maximum percentage allowed for fair rental value in a standard dwelling form. Reason C is not correct. 25% is the limit for certain homeowner form coverages, not for coverage D under a dwelling policy. Question 3. A landlord has a DP3 policy on a residential rental dwelling with coverage A set at $200,000 and a personal property endorsement, providing coverage C equal to 50% of coverage. AA tenant's washer and dryer belonging to the tenant are destroyed by a covered fire. Which statement best describes the insurer's liability for the tenant's appliances? A. Coverage applies up to 10% of the personal property limit for off-premises occurrences. B. Coverage applies up to $100,000, reflecting 50% of the coverage A limit. C. No coverage applies because the endorsement excludes personal property owned by tenants. D. Coverage applies only if the appliances were scheduled separately under a tenant's renter policy. The correct answer is C. The personal property endorsement on a DP policy applies only to property owned by the named insured. Belongings owned by tenants are specifically excluded. Reason A is not correct. The off-premises sublimit applies to the named insured's property only, not to tenant belongings. Reason B is not correct. The personal property limit does not extend to property owned by tenants, so the stated limit is not applicable. Reason D is not correct. Scheduling under a tenant's renter policy does not invoke the landlord's DP coverage for tenant property. Question 4. Following a severe hailstorm, A homeowner insured under an HO3 policy discovers that the window blinds, which were permanently affixed to the interior of the dwelling, have been shattered. Under which coverage section will losses to the blinds be paid? A. Coverage C, personal property. B. Coverage B, other structures. C. Coverage A, dwelling. D. Additional living expense. The correct answer is C. Fixtures and items permanently attached to the structure are considered part of the dwelling and are covered under Coverage A rather than Coverage C. Reason A is not correct. Coverage C covers only personal property that is not permanently affixed to the building. Reason B is not correct. Coverage B applies only to structures detached from the main dwelling, not to attached fixtures. Reason D is not correct. Additional living expense covers extra living costs after a loss, not damage to property. Question 5. Under the ISO building and personal property coverage form, which of the following would be classified as business personal property rather than part of the building coverage? A. Permanently installed light fixtures. B. Tenant-installed movable partitions. C. Built-in vault and safe systems. D. Exterior signage affixed to the structure. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because business personal property under the BPICP form includes tangible personal items owned by or leased to the insured that are not permanently attached to the building, such as tenant-installed movable partitions. Reason A is not correct. Permanently installed light fixtures are considered part of the building structure and covered in the building category. Reason C is not correct. Built-in vaults and safes are permanently installed fixtures, thus classified as part of the building coverage. Reason D is not correct. Signage affixed to the building is treated as part of the building structure rather than business personal property. Question 6. After a severe thunderstorm, a manufacturing facility's electronic data stored on computer servers was corrupted, while inventory stock and furniture were destroyed by fire. Under the building and personal property coverage form, BPP, which loss would not be covered? A. Electronic data stored on computer servers. B. Furniture and fixtures in the building. C. Inventory stock destroyed by fire. D. Accounts receivable records on file. The correct answer is A. The building and personal property coverage form excludes electronic data from coverage, while tangible properties such as inventory, furniture, and accounts receivable records are covered under the form. Reason B is not correct. Furniture and fixtures located in or on the building are included as covered property. Reason C is not correct. Inventory stock is tangible business personal property covered under the BPP form. Reason D is not correct. Accounts receivable records are considered tangible records and are covered under the BPP form. Question 7. A retail store's roof was punctured during a sudden hailstorm, allowing water to damage inventory. Under the causes of loss basic form, which peril would respond to this loss? A. Accidental discharge of water from plumbing. B. Falling objects striking the roof. C. Weight of ice, snow, or sleet on the roof. D. Hail. The correct answer is D. The basic causes of loss form lists hail as a named peril, whereas water discharge, falling objects, and weight of ice or snow are not included in the basic form. Reason A is not correct. Water damage from plumbing discharge is not one of the named perils on the basic form. Reason B is not correct. Falling objects are covered only under the broad form, not the basic form. Reason C is not correct. Weight of ice, snow, or sleet is an additional peril on the broad form, not the basic form. Question 8. A warehouse roof collapsed under heavy snow accumulation during a winter storm, damaging stored goods. Under the causes of loss broad form, which peril specifically covers this collapse? A. Explosion. B. Vandalism. C. Weight of ice, snow, or sleet. D. Volcanic action. The correct answer is C. The broad causes of loss form adds coverage for collapse due to the weight of ice, snow, or sleet, whereas explosion, vandalism, and volcanic action are either covered under the basic form or not applicable to collapse events. Reason A is not correct. Explosion is a named peril but does not address collapse from snow weight. Reason B is not correct. Vandalism is covered under the basic form, but it does not pertain to collapse from snow accumulation. Reason D is not correct. Volcanic action is a named peril but is unrelated to structural collapse from snow weight. Question 9. Which statement best describes the scope of coverage under the nationwide definition of inland marine insurance? A. Coverage for property in transit and instrumentalities of transportation, including floaters for movable items. B. Coverage for property permanently affixed to land, such as office buildings and warehouses. C. Coverage for vessels and cargo against marine perils on ocean voyages. D. Coverage for liability losses arising from damage to autos during transport. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is the one that reflects inland marine coverage for movable property and transport-related instrumentalities under the nationwide definition. Reason B is not correct. Fixed real estate exposures are insured under property policies, not inland marine. Reason C is not correct. Ocean voyages and related perils fall under ocean marine, not inland marine. Reason D is not correct. Liability for auto transport is covered by motor truck cargo or auto liability policies, not inland marine. Question 10. Under a personal articles floater for jewelry, what must the insured provide to schedule a specific item for coverage? A. A detailed description of each scheduled jewelry item and its agreed value. B. A police report confirming purchase and current market value of each piece. C. A receipt from the retailer including purchase date and purchase price. D. A lockbox certification indicating secure storage when not worn. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is the one that describes the scheduling requirement of listing each jewelry item with a description and agreed value under a personal articles floater. Reason B is not correct. A police report is not required for scheduling coverage under a floater. Reason C is not correct. Retailer receipts alone do not fulfill the agreed value scheduling requirement. Reason D is not correct. Lockbox certifications relate to security, not to scheduling requirements. Question 11. A homeowner schedules a $100,000 fine art painting under a personal articles floater with an agreed value basis. The painting sustains damage requiring $8,000 in restoration, and its actual cash value at the time of loss is $95,000. Under the floater's valuation clause for scheduled fine arts, how much will the insurer pay for the partial loss? A. $8,000. The cost to restore the painting without depreciation. B. $95,000. The painting's actual cash value at the time of loss. C. $100,000, the agreed value of the scheduled item. D. $8,000 minus depreciation on the damaged portion of the painting. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is $8,000 because for partial losses of scheduled fine art under an agreed value personal articles floater, the insurer pays the reasonable cost to restore without applying depreciation up to the agreed value. Reason B is not correct. This reflects the market value of the entire painting and applies only to unscheduled or total losses without an agreed value basis. Reason C is not correct. This is the limit for a total loss, but partial loss settlement under the agreed value floater is based on repair cost. Reason D is not correct. Depreciation is waived for scheduled items with an agreed value basis, so subtracting depreciation is incorrect. Question 12. A film production company schedules $75,000 of camera equipment on a commercial articles floater. During an outdoor shoot, the equipment is loaded onto a front-end loader for transport across rough terrain and sustains damage. Under the commercial articles floater, is this loss covered? A. Covered, since scheduled equipment is protected while in transit by any vehicle. B. Not covered, because the floater only protects losses during shipment by common carriers. C. Covered, subject to the floater's standard transit deductible. D. Not covered because a front-end loader is mobile equipment excluded by the floater. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is that the loss is not covered because a front-end loader is classified as mobile equipment, not a covered motor vehicle, and the commercial articles floater excludes losses on property transported by such equipment. Reason A is not correct. The floater covers transit by vehicles defined as motor vehicles, but excludes property on off-road mobile equipment. Reason B is not correct. Coverage is not restricted to common carriers. It extends to any covered motor vehicle, but mobile equipment is excluded. Reason C is not correct. There is no special deductible or endorsement for transport by mobile equipment under this floater. Question 13. In property insurance, the term risk most accurately refers to A. A condition that increases the probability or severity of a loss. B. The possibility of a loss occurring to the insured property. C. The specific cause or event that leads to a loss under the policy. D. The valuation of the insured property used for premium calculation. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is the concept of risk, which denotes the uncertainty or possibility that a future loss may occur to the insured property. Reason A is not correct. This describes a hazard which increases the likelihood or severity of a loss, not risk itself. Reason C is not correct. This describes a peril which is the direct cause of a loss under a policy. Reason D is not correct. This refers to property valuation or insurable value, not the concept of risk. Question 14. When assessing underwriting exposures, which statement correctly differentiates a peril from a hazard? A. A peril is the underlying condition that amplifies loss potential, while a hazard is the trigger event causing a loss. B. A peril is the direct cause of a loss, whereas a hazard is any circumstance that increases the likelihood or severity of that loss. C. A hazard is the actual damage suffered by the insured property, and a peril is the insurance carrier's financial exposure. D. A hazard is the monetary amount at risk, and a peril is the contractual agreement's exclusions. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is the classic distinction. A peril is the direct cause of loss, while a hazard is any condition or situation that increases the chance or severity of that loss. Reason A is not correct. This reverses the definitions and erroneously swaps the roles of peril and hazard. Reason C is not correct. This confuses hazard with loss and mislabels peril as a financial measure. Reason D is not correct. This incorrectly treats hazard as a dollar amount and misdefines peril as policy exclusions. Question 15. A homeowner reports that the residence's timber-framed balconies show advanced rot and wood decay. Smoke alarms have been disabled to stop nuisance alerts. The owner has a history of inflating previous claim amounts, and the property operates as a weekly vacation rental. Which of the following conditions is correctly classified as a physical hazard that underwriters consider when setting property insurance premiums? A. Advanced rot and wood decay in the timber-framed balconies. B. Disabling smoke alarms to prevent false alerts. C. A history of inflating previous claim amounts. D. Operating the property as a weekly vacation rental. The correct answer is A. The wood decay in the balconies is a tangible condition that increases the chance of structural failure and loss, whereas the other items represent morale, moral, or occupancy hazards rather than physical hazards. Reason B is not correct. Removing smoke alarms reflects a careless attitude toward risk, which is classified as a morale hazard rather than a physical hazard. Reason C is not correct. Overstating claim amounts is an intentional act that increases moral hazard, not a physical hazard. Reason D is not correct. Using the property as a vacation rental is an occupancy hazard, not a physical hazard. Question 16. Which statement most accurately defines the policy limit of liability in an insurance contract? A. The amount the insured must pay out of pocket before the insurer's obligation to pay begins. B. The maximum amount the insurer is obligated to pay for a covered loss under the policy. C. The percentage of a covered loss that the insured is responsible for under a coinsurance provision. D. The maximum number of covered loss events allowed during the policy period before coverage ceases. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is the insurer's highest financial obligation for a covered loss, which is the policy limit of liability. Reason A is not correct. This describes a deductible rather than the policy limit of liability. Reason C is not correct. This describes a coinsurance requirement rather than the policy limit of liability. Reason D is not correct. This incorrectly refers to a count of loss events rather than a monetary cap. Question 17. Which statement correctly distinguishes an aggregate limit from a per-occurrence limit in a liability policy? A. A per-occurrence limit sets the maximum amount the insurer will pay for each single loss event. B. An aggregate limit caps the insurer's total liability for all covered losses during the policy period. C. A deductible specifies the amount the insured must pay before coverage begins on any loss. D. A coinsurance clause requires the insured to insure for a specified percentage of property value. The correct answer is B. The correct answer defines an aggregate limit as the total payout cap for all covered losses in the policy term. Reason A is not correct. This describes a per-occurrence limit rather than an aggregate limit. Reason C is not correct. This defines a deductible, not an aggregate or per-occurrence limit. Reason D is not correct. This explains a coinsurance requirement, which is unrelated to limits distinctions. Question 18. Which statement correctly distinguishes the timing requirements for insurer cancellation versus non-renewal of a property insurance policy? A. Cancellation mandates at least 30 days advance notice, while non-renewal only requires 10 days notice before expiration. B. Cancellation may occur any time during the policy term with 10 days notice for non-payment, and at least 30 days for other reasons, whereas non-renewal requires 30 days notice before the policy expiration date. C. Cancellation is permitted only at the end of the policy term, while non-renewal demands at least 30 days advance notice to the insured. D. Cancellation requires 60 days notice for non-payment, and non-renewal may occur any time during the policy term. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because cancellations can occur midterm with shorter notice periods, for example, 10 days for non-payment, 30 days for other reasons. Whereas non-renewal can only happen at term end and requires a 30-day advance notice. Reason A is not correct. Reverses the required notice periods for cancellation and non-renewal, making the timing incorrect. Reason C is not correct. Incorrectly states that cancellation is only at term end when it may occur anytime midterm. Reason D is not correct. Mistakenly assigns a 60-day cancellation notice for non-payment and allows midterm non-renewal, both of which are wrong. Question 19. An insurer intends to cancel a homeowner's policy for non-payment of premium. On September 1st, it mailed a written cancellation notice to the insured by first-class mail, indicating an effective cancellation date of September 11th. Under Missouri law, cancellation for non-payment requires at least 10 days written notice, and mail is presumed delivered on the third day after mailing. Has the insurer provided sufficient notice? A. Yes, because non-payment cancellations require only 7 days notice under Missouri law. B. No, because the notice period must run for 10 days after presumed delivery on September 4th, making the effective date of September 11th only 7 days later. C. Yes, because mail delivery is presumed 1 day after mailing, satisfying a 10-day notice period before the September 11th effective date. D. No, because Missouri requires at least 30 days notice for all cancellations other than for non-payment. The correct answer is B. The mailbox rule presumes delivery on the third day after mailing, September 4th. So the 10-day period for non-payment runs until September 14th. An effective date of September 11th fails to provide the required 10-day notice. Reason A is not correct. Missouri law requires 10 days advance notice for non-payment, not 7 days. Reason C is not correct. Presumed mail delivery occurs on the third day after mailing, not the first, so the notice period did not reach 10 days before September 11th. Reason D is not correct. For non-payment cancellations, Missouri law requires only 10 days notice rather than 30 days. Question 20. In an insurance policy, the declarations page primarily serves which of the following functions regarding the named insured and the covered property? A. Outline the insurer's obligations following a loss. B. Provide a detailed list of policy definitions. C. Identify the named insured property location and policy limits. D. Describe general policy exclusions and conditions. The correct answer is C. The declarations page lists key information such as the named insured, property address, coverage limits, and policy period. Other sections address obligations, definitions, or exclusions. Reason A is not correct. This choice describes duties after a loss, which is covered under conditions, not the declarations page. Reason B is not correct. Definitions are found in the definitions section, whereas the declarations page provides summarized key data. Reason D is not correct. Exclusions and conditions are found in separate sections, not on the declarations page. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.